Hi everyone, I'm Janine. Welcome to my new YouTube channel. This is my first video, so I'm a little bit nervous, but I basically wanted to start a YouTube channel because I recently opened my own online clothing store, and so I thought I should get on and talk about like what it's like to run my business, what it's, what you have to do to start and all that kind of thing. I remember when I was first starting and I used to watch a lot of YouTube videos of women who also own boutiques, and it was really inspirational to me, and it gave me a lot of like ideas of different things to do because everyone does things differently. So I thought I'd join the club. Welcome. Please like and subscribe. So I guess I'll just kind of tell you a little bit about like how I started. Well, I've always loved clothes. Like, I've always loved fashion. It's always been like my number one passion in my life. Ever since I was in high school, I wanted to be a fashion designer. But I grew up in Lancaster, Pennsylvania in the 80s and 90s. So it didn't seem like a realistic goal, I guess. I mean, I could have, but I would have had, in my mind, I'm like, oh, I gotta move to like New York or Los Angeles or something. Like, you know what I mean? Lancaster, Pennsylvania is beautiful, but it's not exactly like the fashion capital of the world, first of all. And then, second of all, this was back in the 80s and the 90s. You know what I mean? Like, internet wasn't what it is today. And, didn't seem to be as many, like, opportunity. Do you know what I mean? So I kind of shied away from that idea. When I graduated high school, I ended up having kids and getting married and all that. And then, about 5 years ago, right before I turned 33, I was really unhappy with my life, and so I decided to leave my situation and kind of start a new life. And I didn't really know what I wanted to do. I knew I wanted to do something though. Like I was like I was tired of working like just retail jobs or like jobs at restaurants. Like I wanted to do something. I felt like I have to have like a purpose. You know what I mean? Not saying that people don't have a purpose but for me personally, like I've always felt like there's something that I should be doing. What is it? You know what I mean? So then I decided to go to cosmetology school because I like doing hair, and I thought, well, it's like, it was like a 10-month program, it seemed pretty easy at the time. I thought, it'll be fun, I'll enjoy it. It's not clothing or fashion, but it's kind of the same, I guess you could say. So I was like, all right, I could do this. So I did that, and like I don't regret it. I still love doing hair. I really do. And I do not regret going to school for it at all. Like I think it was a really valuable skill to learn. It taught me a lot about myself, and especially at that time in my life, I think I needed something like that. So it was a great decision at the time. But then after a few years of doing it, I kind of just was like, this isn't really what I want to do for the rest of my life. You know what I mean? And the thought of working in the clothing industry and with fashion, it's always been on my mind. But then I'm thinking, well, what am I going to do? You know what I mean? Like, at this point, I have kids. I'm a single mom. I live in Lancaster. I can't drive to New York and start over. It's just not, you know what I mean? It just seemed like, what am I going to do? So then I started thinking about, I'm like, well, I've always thought about opening a clothing store. Because that was always kind of one of those things. I was like, and then I was, but it's that, yeah, again, it seemed like it was going to be like way too much, a lot of risks, a lot of stress and all that kind of stuff. So I was like, yeah. But then I really, really started to like really think about it and actually start planning it. And I sat down, I remember I had a little notebook, and I would sit there and like, just look things up on Google, just research everything, like research every single thing I would need for my store. I remember I would sit there and just like and budget everything out. And then I remember I had my little drawing of like my diagram of what my store would look like and how I'd have my racks. And like, I really, you know what I mean? I really was about it, you know what I mean? And then I decided to go downtown. There's a place downtown that helps single moms open businesses. So I was like, okay. So I set up a few meetings with them, and I talked with them, and they were really, really helpful and all. And then I sat down and talked to some financial people about like a loan and all that. And after I guess a few months of all this, I started to really realize like this is gonna be a lot. Like, I mean, I knew it was gonna be a lot, but first of all, I really wasn't in the place like financially at that point to do something like that, and I kind of needed to like work on my credit and stuff like that. So I was like, well, I can do this, but it's gonna take a long time. And so like once I started to kind of get that mentality, I kind of like started to not really think about it as much and not really have it as my focus. So I kind of like, I didn't forget about it, but you know, I was kind of like, I'll worry about it later when I have more money. You know what I mean? And then like not even a year later, I met my now boyfriend. This was like a year and a half ago. And I remember we were sitting there on our first date, and we're talking about like what we wanted in our life, like what we wanted out of life. And I was telling him about my idea, and he's like, well, why are you not doing this? And so I told him all the reasons why I wasn't doing it, and he was like, why are you not doing this? Well, yeah, I guess you're right. Like, if, you know, it kind of makes you, when somebody else says it, it kind of makes you realize, like, yeah, why am I not? You know what I mean? So that kind of, like, gave me the jump start I needed again. And then a couple months later, I took a trip to Cape Town, South Africa, and that was like life-changing for me. And it really made me realize, like, first of all, life's too short. What am I waiting for? You know what I mean? And it was really inspirational to like go to a different part of the world. And I had never traveled before. That was my first time on a plane. Was a 26-hour flight to South Africa. Like, it was pretty crazy. But it was so life-changing, and I think that was kind of like the moment I realized, like, when I get home, I'm doing this. You know what I mean? So then when I got home, I kind of started to, I was going to go more in the direction of like trying to do the fashion design. So I started to kind of like do sketches and things like that. And then, I started to kind of go back more into the idea of having a clothing store. And then I thought, okay, why not do it online? And the only reason why before I was so hesitant to do it online was because I'm not good with computers. Like, technology and I do not get along. We're not friends. So it was a little bit intimidating. I thought, I'm not going to be able to do that. But then, like, when I was talking to my boyfriend about it, and he was just really supportive, and he was like, I'll help you, like, if you need help with things. And, you know, there's YouTube, you can YouTube literally videos on anything. You know what I mean? Like, if you have any issues about what you're doing, you can literally YouTube a video, and there's going to be videos about it to show you how to do everything. You know what I mean? We have Google. We have all these things at our fingertips to help us. So I kind of started to realize, like, you know, I really don't have any excuses. You know what I mean? At this point, I don't. And I'm not getting any younger, so why not do it? You know what I mean? So then, like 9 months later or so, it was like August of 2019, and I made an appointment with an accountant. I know him pretty well. I know him through my family. He does a lot of work with my dad. So it's somebody that I trust and I know, and I, you know, made an appointment with him. We sat down for like 3 hours and talked about tax things and whether I should be a sole proprietor or LLC. I mean, we how to keep track of my finances. We talked about, like, I had a billion and one questions for him, and it literally like was a 3-hour meeting. But by the end of that meeting, I felt so much better because now I had a better understanding of everything that I would need, all the different like licenses I'd need, things I would need for my taxes, like all that stuff. So once I did that, then it was kind of like, that was the first step. Well, I went home and I did my EIN number. That is your like tax ID. Everyone needs it when you have a business. So I went home and I did that immediately. And then, you know, every state's different, so you have to look up your state and find out, like, what exactly it is you need. I know for me personally, like, I had to register in the state of Pennsylvania. I had to get I don't know exactly what it's called, but it's like sales wholesale tax document or something, whatever, to show that you're allowed to buy wholesale and resell it. Like, there's a few different documents that you'll need. And then once I started doing all that, then I started to look up like vendors and where to buy my clothes from. And you know, it's fun, but I'll tell you, like, it's way harder than what I thought it was going to be. I'll make a whole nother video on that, because that's like a whole different, that's a whole nother video. Like, I'll just say that. It's so much fun, but I will say, like, it's not easy, and it does take a lot of time. So make sure that before you open, you have a pretty good list of vendors that you already kind of have a relationship with, that you've already ordered. Like, before you open, you'll order your stuff. Make sure that you see what you get and you're happy with it. You know what I mean? Like, you don't want to go into it without having like people, like vendors that you trust and stuff like that. Like, the clothes that I get, I don't go cheap. I buy pretty good quality clothing. You know what I mean? It's a little bit more expensive, but I would much rather do that and have good quality clothing and have people be happy with what they're getting. You know what I mean? Like, that to me is more important. But everybody's different, you know, but these are things that you really have to think about before you get started. And I think that, you know, it's easy to like forget this when you're planning, you know, all the different things that go into it. And you really want to make sure that you really have a good idea of what you're doing before you really get started. Yeah, but that's pretty much it. So now I've been in business. Oh, I opened at the end of January of 2020. So now I've been open for about, I guess, almost 6 months, or around 6 months. It's going well. It started off a little rocky because of coronavirus. So as we all know, coronavirus happened and everything shut down and nobody was working. And I mean, there were people working, but, you know, a lot of people were out of work, and it was like, we didn't really know what was going to happen with the economy. Like, it was kind of a scary time for a few months. So, I mean, you know, yeah, I had an online store, so I was able to stay open through all that, but I did see my business be impacted. Like, when I first opened, I was doing pretty well, and then I had a couple months where I didn't really do much at all, and, so, like, that was kind of, yeah. But now things are getting back to normal. Like, it's now June, and, I've noticed over the last couple of months, things have really picked up, you know, and yeah, and I mean, I've been able to work on my business. I'm learning more. I mean, that's the one thing that you have to really be easy on yourself, because when you first start, you're going to make a lot of mistakes, and you have to remember that. Like, and don't be hard on yourself for it, because you're learning. You know what I mean? I mean, you can plan all day, but you're never going to be fully prepared. Like, I planned for over 6 months, like hardcore planned, you know, for over 6 months. And I still, when I opened, there's been so much that I've learned in the 6 months just since I've opened, you know what I mean? And I've had to go back in and make changes. I went in and changed my website around, you know what I mean? You have to be willing to do that as your business grows. You know what I mean? And don't be hard on yourself, and don't beat yourself up for mistakes that you might make, because you're going to make mistakes. I mean, it's really the only way to succeed and grow. So I guess those are like just some of the things that I kind of wish that I had like known going into it. Definitely number one, plan. I mean, I planned, but like, you know, there's a lot of things that I didn't even really think about until I was already open. And then it kind of, as things come along, you're like, oh, I didn't even realize I had to do that. Or like, you know what I mean? So it can be kind of overwhelming at times, and there will be times where you're kind of like, should I even be doing this? Because, you know what I mean? But it's fine. Like, I've learned a lot from watching other people and kind of seeing like different ideas that they might have, because like I said, everyone's going to do it differently, and you'll find your way. So, I guess that's pretty much it. Hopefully next time, I don't really know what I'm going to talk about next video, but I'll figure it out. But like I said, I'm going to just kind of be talking about like my store, running my business, all the different things that kind of go into it. And then maybe we'll talk about other things. I don't know. So please like and subscribe, and hopefully I will see you soon. Thank you.